All right, let's dive in. We're tackling The Queen's Code today by Alison Armstrong.
Oh, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, lots of you requested a deep dive on this one.
Yeah.
It's this really cool blend of storytelling and straight up relationship advice.
Right.
And honestly, I'm really curious to see what we can pull out of it.
Me too.
You know, for everyone listening, think of it as like our cheat sheet to understanding, the guys in our lives.
Ooh, cheat sheet. I like that.
Right. Maybe even like seriously improving those relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny you say cheat sheet because the Queen's Code really does give you some pretty tactical things you can do.
Yeah.
But it also really pushes you to rethink a lot of the stuff you think you know about men.
Totally. Like that whole frog farming thing she talks about.
Yes.
I mean, it's hilarious.
It is.
But also kind of hits a little close to home,
Yeah.
Like one of the women in the book, Kimberly,
Yes.
she goes to these crazy lengths to try to change her husband, Matthew.
Yeah.
She's climbing mountains trying to impress this guy.
Literally. Yeah.
And the whole point the book makes is that trying to change them is totally backwards.
It really is. It's kind of about accepting them, for who they are.
Yes. It's about understanding how they're wired.
Exactly. Not trying to mold them.
Okay, so tell me about this wiring thing.
So she talks about this thing called single focus.
Okay.
Men tend to have it. Basically, they can only concentrate on one thing at a time. There's actually science behind this. Studies have shown that when you look at men's brains,
Yeah.
there's more activity in specific spots. But with women, it's spread out.
Interesting. So that's why my partner can just completely zone out in front of the TV.
Yes.
And I'm always doing 10 things at once.
Exactly. Even if it's just a phone call, you're multitasking.
Yep.
And this wiring difference, it really affects how we talk to each other.
A bit.
Women, we jump between topics, but men, they need us to slow down.
And just focus on one thing.
Yes.
Okay, so how does this whole single focus thing actually play out in a relationship?
Well, there's this woman in the book, Karen.
Uh-huh.
She's always getting frustrated with her husband, Mike, because he never takes out the trash.
Classic.
Right. She thinks he's being lazy or trying to annoy her.
I've been there.
But the thing is, his brain just doesn't even notice the trash the same way hers does.
So it's not that he doesn't care.
Right.
He just literally doesn't see it as a DEFCON 1 situation.
Exactly. And that's where the Queen's Code gets really interesting because it offers a solution, this thing called the language of heroes.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about this. It's about using specific words that really hit home for guys.
Exactly. The book highlights 5 words.
Okay, lay them on me.
Provide, need, help, save, and problem.
5 words. Got it.
But the thing is, it's not just about throwing these words around randomly. It's about getting the deeper meaning behind them.
The why, not just the what.
Exactly. So going back to Karen and Mike,
Yeah?
instead of, nagging him about the trash, she could try something like, honey, I really need your help with providing a clean and comfortable home for us.
That's way different than, take out the trash, you slob.
Right. See how it changes things? She's speaking to his desire to provide and help.
Which are core guy things.
Exactly. So you're not manipulating him. You're communicating in a way that aligns with his natural instincts.
Okay, I like this. So the book gives all these examples of how this language can totally transform the way we talk to each other.
Yes. And how to get your needs met,
Yeah?
in a more positive way. It even goes into how some phrases can be jump starts for intimacy.
Ooh, we're going there.
We are. We'll get to that later. But first, let's unpack these first 3 words. Provide, need, and help. What jumps out of you so far? Does this resonate with your own experiences?
Let me think.
It's amazing how just changing a few words can totally shift things.
Right.
And speaking of shifting things, the Queen's Code also talks about these 2 behaviors that can really mess things up in relationships.
Okay.
Emasculation and objectification.
Yeah, I got to admit, when I saw those in the book, I was a little ooh, careful now.
Yeah,
Those are some pretty loaded words.
they are.
But I am curious to hear how the Queen's Code, handles them.
Well, it's all about understanding, not pointing fingers.
Okay.
It starts by saying that both men and women can do these things,
Mhm.
often without even realizing it,
Yeah.
and that they're both equally damaging.
Okay, let's break it down. Let's start with emasculation. What does that even mean in this context?
So in the book, emasculation is basically anything that makes a man feel less powerful.
Less competent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like criticizing him all the time.
Putting down his ideas.
Yeah, or second-guessing everything he does.
Like you're chipping away at his confidence.
Exactly.
Making him feel like he's not good enough.
And I think a lot of women, myself included, might do this without even thinking about it.
Oh, totally.
You know, we're so used to being independent and capable.
Right, like,
Yeah.
we got this.
Yeah, and we forget to let men step up and be the heroes they want to be.
Oh, that's a good point.
And, you know, the book makes it clear that giving up the right to emasculate men doesn't mean becoming a doormat.
Right, it's not about that.
It's about finding better ways to communicate our needs,
Yeah.
both to deal with problems.
So instead of nagging or criticizing,
Yeah,
we can use that language of heroes to, like, inspire them.
exactly, to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And it's also about remembering that men need to feel respected and appreciated.
Mhm.
If we're constantly putting them down, it creates all this resentment.
Distance.
Yeah, and the book talks about how we often fall into this perfect person trap,
Oh, yeah.
holding men to all these impossible standards.
Ones that we probably don't even meet ourselves.
Right, it's setting everyone up for failure.
Totally. And it stops us from seeing the good in them, you know.
Exactly. Their flaws and all.
Okay, so what about objectification? I think most people think of that as like men doing it to women.
Right.
But the book is saying it goes both ways.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about reducing someone to their looks.
Right.
It's also about objectifying their roles.
So, like, just seeing them as the provider or the protector,
Yeah, without seeing the whole person.
their individuality
Exactly. Like we're using them to meet our needs, but not really seeing them.
as human beings.
Yeah, and that can be really damaging, especially in the long-term relationships.
It blocks that real connection.
Exactly, that intimacy.
Okay, so how do we break free from all of this? From the emasculation and the objectification?
Well, the first step is awareness.
Noticing when we're doing it.
Yeah, and then choosing to do something different.
And it's about really trying to understand men, their needs, what motivates them.
Yeah, and how they see the world.
So it's about seeing them as partners, not projects.
Exactly.
And treating them with respect.
Yes, the same way we want to be treated.
You know, one thing that really surprised me in the Queen's Code was the idea that women can sometimes mess things up by being too independent.
Interesting.
I always thought being independent was a good thing.
It is. But the book is saying that maybe we're giving up something by always doing everything ourselves.
So are you saying we should just let men do everything for us?
No, it's not about going back to like old-fashioned gender roles.
Okay.
It's about finding a balance.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that letting men contribute,
Provide for us.
yes, in ways that are meaningful to them, can actually make the relationship stronger.
It's funny, the book even talks about something as simple as letting a man carry your groceries
Yeah,
as a way of letting him provide
exactly.
and feel good about himself.
And this goes back to the language of heroes, right? Men, they need to feel useful.
Appreciate
If we keep refusing their help,
doing everything ourselves.
yeah, we're taking away their chance to do what they're naturally driven to do.
So it's not about being helpless or dependent.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how this all works.
Yeah.
And letting men step into those roles that make them happy.
Exactly. And realizing that true empowerment comes from working together, not competing,
Partnership, not competition.
supporting each other's strengths,
Yeah.
honoring each other's needs.
Okay, so we've talked about emasculation, objectification, and finding that balance between being independent and letting men provide.
Right.
What else does the Queen's Code tell us about understanding men's needs?
Well, one of the big takeaways is that men often feel like their needs are more urgent than women do.
Oh, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Sometimes my partner will get so fixated on something like
Mhm.
fixing a leaky faucet or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, can this wait?
Right. And the book explains that this I need, I get thing,
Yeah.
it's not because men are selfish.
Okay.
It's just how they're wired.
Problem solvers.
Yeah. Action takers. They see a problem, they got to fix it.
So instead of getting frustrated or thinking it's about us,
We need to understand that that's just how their brains work.
it's not personal.
Exactly. And that brings us to another cool tool from the Queen's Code, the needs conversation.
Oh, okay.
What's that? It's like a structured way to talk about our needs,
Okay.
you know, clearly and respectfully.
Without all the drama.
Exactly. It's about moving away from blame and judgment.
And working together.
Yes. Where both people feel heard and understood.
That sounds way better than the usual arguing back and forth.
Right.
So how do you actually have a needs conversation? Like, what are the steps?
Well, first you got to figure out what you need.
Okay,
Be specific about what would make you happy.
got it.
But instead of just saying, I need this,
Okay.
you explain to your partner what meeting that need would do for you.
Like how it make you feel.
Exactly. The benefits you'd get, the positive impact on the relationship.
So it's not just saying, I need you to do the dishes. It's more like, honey, doing the dishes would make me feel so much less stressed and more connected to you.
Yes, you're giving him the why behind the what.
Okay.
And that's super important because men are motivated by purpose.
They want to know their actions matter.
Exactly.
This makes me realize how often we just assume men should know what we need,
Oh, yeah.
which isn't really fair to them.
No, not at all. And the cool thing about the needs conversation is that it encourages both people to be open about what they need.
It's a two-way street.
Exactly.
Wow, the Queen's Code is packed with so much good stuff. We've covered so much,
We have
but there's still those last 3 words from the language of heroes.
save, problem, and provide.
Yeah, those feel like big ones.
They are, and they're really key to understanding how to inspire men.
To be their best in relationships.
Exactly. But we'll have to dive into those in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. Okay, we're back and ready to tackle those last 3 words from the language of heroes.
Save, problem, and provide.
They feel kind of heavy, but I'm ready to hear how they can help us build better relationships.
You know, it's funny you say heavy because they do come with a lot of, baggage.
Yeah.
But if we can get past all that...
And really see how they connect with men,
Exactly.
then they can be really powerful.
So let's start with save.
Okay.
The book talks about men being heroes, but it's not like, rescuing us from a fire.
Right. Not literal heroes.
It's more about recognizing that men are wired to protect us.
Care for us.
Yeah, even in everyday things. They get a sense of purpose from solving our problems.
Making our lives easier.
Exactly. Like that example we talked about before with Kimberly and her boss, Raul.
Oh, right. How he gave her this feeling of security
Yeah, just by being her boss.
just by being there.
And it's about letting men step into those roles.
The roles that make them feel good.
Yeah, it's not about being helpless. It's about appreciating this side of them.
So instead of struggling to put together that IKEA furniture myself, I could ask for my partner's help. Let him be my hero for an afternoon.
Exactly. And it works for emotional stuff, too.
Oh, yeah, like when we're feeling down,
Men want to be there for us.
offer support.
It makes them feel good to help us find solutions.
So it's not that they have to fix everything.
Right.
It's just about letting them be there for us in a way that works for them.
Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about problem.
Okay, this one seems a little counterintuitive.
It does, but the Queen's Code says that men are actually energized by problems.
Really? They like having problems.
Well, they like having challenges.
Things to solve.
Yeah, it's like they need a quest.
Like my partner with those brain teaser puzzles.
Yes. He gets so into them.
So focused.
He has to find the solution.
So maybe instead of seeing a problem as something that divides us,
Yeah.
we can see it as a challenge to tackle together,
Like we're on the same team.
working towards a common goal.
Exactly. Tap into that problem-solving energy.
So instead of blaming each other for the messy house,
We make it a problem we can solve together.
a project.
Yeah. And it can actually bring you closer.
This is really making me think differently about how I talk to the men in my life
It is about the language we use.
and how men hear it.
Okay, and that leads us to our last word. Provide.
Okay, this one feels like the heart of it all.
It is. This is at the core of the language of heroes.
Men are wired to provide.
Not just money, but emotionally, physically.
All sorts of ways.
And we've talked about how important it is to let them provide, even in small things.
But the book also says we got to appreciate what they're already doing for us.
Yes, it's about noticing their contributions.
Because sometimes we take them for granted.
And by saying thank you, by acknowledging all they do for us.
We encourage them to do even more.
Exactly. It's like a positive feedback loop.
The more we appreciate them, the more they want to be our heroes.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of the Queen's Code,
It's not about tricking men into doing what we want.
No, it's about understanding the differences between men and women.
Using that knowledge to build stronger relationships.
More fulfilling relationships.
It's like moving past the whole battle of the sexes thing.
Embracing the partnership.
Wow, this deep dive has given me so much to think about.
Me too.
The Queen's Code offers a whole new way of looking at
It
relationships.
does. And even though some of it might seem a little strange at first.
It makes sense when you start applying it.
So, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
What can they start doing today to improve their relationships with men?
I would say pay attention to the language you use. Try incorporating the language of heroes.
See what happens.
And remember, it's not about manipulation, it's about connection.
That's so important.
And I would add, let go of the need to control everything.
Let men step up and provide in ways that feel good to them.
You might be surprised at how much stronger your bond becomes.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And for everyone listening, keep diving deep.